What's up, YouTube? This is Too Raw for TV. All right, so it was a couple of days ago we all learned that Joy Reid had been fired from MSNBC. Her show, her long standing show, had been canceled as that network is now under new management, trying to retool, rebrand itself. And of course, most of the shows on that network ratings plummeted after the shocking election day victory for Donald John Trump. Not just shocking in the fact that he won, but the size of his victory was shocking to most. So Joy Reid recently appeared on a Zoom call, and she started crying. She started crying and started trying to explain how her show had value or whatever the hell it was she was talking about. But here it is.
My show had value, and that that what I was doing had value. And in the end, I'm sorry, I try not to cry on TV. And this is kind of like me on TV, so I apologize. And then it mattered. I see Karen is there, and she's been texting me as well. And so what I will just say is that in the end, thank you. Where I land is that the moment of guilt that I felt, that I went hard on so many issues, whether it was the Black Lives Matter issues of a young baby or a mom or a dad that was killed, or when we opened up people's eyes to the fact that Asian Americans were being targeted and not just Black folks, or went hard for immigrants who've done nothing but come to this country like my parents did and try to make a life and defended them, or whether we've talked about what the president is doing that is subversive to the Constitution, that is injurious to our liberty, defending books that people find inconvenient, that Nicole Hannah-Jones put into our spirit, that we need to understand 1619 as the real founding of this country, whether it's talking about any of these issues, and yes, whether it's talking about Gaza and the fact that we as the American people have a right to object to little babies being bombed. And where I come down on that is I'm not sorry. I am not sorry that I stood up for those things, because those things are of God. And I'm a church girl too, and those are the things that I was taught were of God. And so I'm not sorry. I'm just proud of my show.
Let me say this. I don't disagree with everything that Joy Reid has talked about over the years on her show. Not everything. A lot of things I thought she had points about. But that wasn't the majority of stuff. But this is my problem with her. People like Joy Reid usually the few Black people that you see on television that have programs, they either don't have the common shared experience of being a Black American born here. And I want to say this too before I go further with this point. I don't adhere to the constant fracturing of Black people with using terminology like FBA versus tether. And I get what people mean by that, and there is a lot of that. But I sometimes think that we look for too many reasons to go at one another. We have so much energy we have so much energy when looking for reasons to bicker and fight and protest among one another, but we don't have that same energy when we go or when we want to go against or when we should be going up against our historical enemies here. We don't have the same energy. So that's how I always feel about it. I've always been a person who has leaned toward Pan Africanism, which is the uprising of all Black people. And even when you look at the so-called tethers who look at us like through the lenses of so-called WS, don't forget that they were influenced by WS or their colonizers. Now, getting back to the point, Joy Reid is indicative of people who are like that, or Black people who have sold out totally for the bag and sold out for the DNC. Literally get a lot of their talking points, or most of their talking points, from the DNC. Literally. That's who they're beholden to. So, at the end of the day, I don't feel anything for Joy Reid. This is a woman who said that fundamental Black Americans who were openly critical of Kamala Harris, openly critical of the Biden administration or, Barack Obama, especially people posting online, right? She said that we were Russian bots. She literally said this a couple of years ago. Russian bots. And people like her, who were members of the rapidly crumbling so-called legacy media, right? They've done everything they could to hold down us, the grassroots Black media. They've done everything they could to do that, to silence us. Now look where she is. More than likely, she's going to be relegated to trying to get views and get an audience here on old social media, where these people look down on us for so many years. How sweet it is. So we feel nothing with your tears. Nothing. How many times has she crapped on Black people? I've never heard her advocate for reparations. Why? Because it wouldn't have affected her. They always talk about we need to do things for the good of the nation and not be selfish, but she never advocated for anything that didn't help her. And I gotta say this. I just gotta say it, man. And I don't like talking like this because, she's not Black. I mean, she's not white, but for a person that cries and complains as much as she does, and you make $3 million a year. You were making $3 million a year on MSNBC. I don't know what you complaining about so much for. And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying when you make a lot of money, you're not supposed to point things out. But it was always an anger with her. Like she was a really bitter human being. When you were at the pinnacle, if you want to call it that, of liberal talk, MSNBC. You had a show. And one of the few Black people on TV, so-called Black people, who had a long-lasting show. But, after a while, people begin to figure you out. And she really was nothing but a white liberal Karen in blackface. I mean, that's just what I saw from her. I stopped watching Joy Reid years ago, maybe 10 years ago. Yeah, Barack Obama was still president when I stopped watching her, because I figured I'm like, she's not on our side. She's not one of us at all. And I didn't mean by ethnicity. I didn't mean by whether or not she was from here. She's just not one of us with the way she talks. And I think most of us have no issue whatsoever with people being immigrants coming here. They know what the problem is. Our issue is people come over here illegally. I'm sorry. You shouldn't be able to come over here illegally and thrive because none of us could come to any other goddamn country and just cross over, and nothing happened to us. We're breaking the law, right? So I'm sorry. I don't want to hear this about these people just trying to come here illegal, come here and have a better way of life. Well, tell that to that woman that got burnt the fuck up in that New York subway. I don't think her life got better. Talk about all these women that have been great that the mainstream media is not reporting. Talk about the communities that are being victimized by all of these gangs that are coming over here from other countries. And you talk about criminalization in the White House, and I agree a lot of that with Trump, but you didn't mention one time about Biden and the criminal regime going on there, especially with the criminal endeavors going over with Ukraine, which is why he pardoned his family members going back 10 years. I didn't hear you talk about that. I'm just saying, talk about all of it. Don't just pick and choose when you. I can't stand that. I can't stand it. Talk about all of it. We talk about all of it. Democrat, Republican, all of them the same. They're all crooked as hell. So I don't feel nothing for her. And I hope Rachel Maddow's next, honestly. Hell with all of them. That's all I got to say about it.